This is the Mack G Show.
Welcome to episode 12 of the Mack G Show. We're coming off of our Christmas special, so hopefully you enjoyed that. And I am very pumped who we have on today. When you and I first started thinking of doing a podcast, and I thought to myself, who could we have on the show? I thought of this person, and now it's happening. Before I get into the bio, you good?
Am I good for what? What's going on?
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on now, but let's get into
our
pal Stevie first.
All right, cool. All right, so without further ado, today we're joined by our good friend, Steve Mazzie, who was born and raised in Everett, Massachusetts, and recently retired after an incredible career as the city's chief of police. Steve served in law enforcement for over 3 decades, following in the footsteps of his family as a third-generation officer. As chief, he led initiatives to build community connections, reduce crime, and mentor the next generation of officers. Now enjoying retirement, Steve has been traveling across Europe with his wife and exploring creative hobbies like Driftwood art. We're excited to hear his stories and insights today. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Mazzie. Wow. Pull the mic close.
Great intro, Johnny.
Yeah. How you doing?
Appreciate it. I'm good. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Good.
Good
Chief.
Good to be back with you.
Yes. It feels like you've never left.
Yeah, that's what when we get together, it does feel like that.
It does. Yeah, you don't miss a
bit.
beat. I guess before we get into talking a little bit about you, it's the holidays. Things are going well for you around the holidays?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
I mean, we'll probably get into it, but
Yeah.
we talked a little bit about, at our age now, some of the responsibilities we have. I'm sure that comes.
Yeah.
What about our kids are getting older? What do you do for a tree? You cutting trees down? You still have a tree?
Yeah, so my kid's not, my daughter's away.
Right.
We're fortunate she pops in on occasion. She's home right now for a couple of days, but she's moving on. She's got work. So we're not even going to see her for Christmas. But, and then, Nick just wrapped up semester.
Yeah.
So what I do is like last year, I think it was like last year, 2 years ago, I found a tree. It's in like 2 sections. You open the box and pop, and it lights right up.
Yeah.
And
It looks
Plug it-
real?
you plug
Does
it
it
in.
look
yeah, it
pretty
looks
real?
real, looks great.
Do
I'm
they
like,
do the scent too sometimes? They do like a pine scent?
I do have the scent things. I
get a
hang
Yankee
inside
candle.
The,
You get a
yeah, no,
Yankee
but
candle, you put it
it's
right
just
there.
it's all about efficiency now.
Yeah.
And but we used to do when the kids were young. We'd go out to the farms and cut the tree down, drag it to 2 feet of snow and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We wanted a little festive, so
yeah.
when they come and visit you, you get a little something going on
Yeah.
there. And
No. So I'm into
Yeah.
the whole Christmas holiday spirit, decorating and music and
Yeah.
all that.
Well, you're in your retirement now, so you better take it all in, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Stevie, let me ask you
yeah.
a question.
Yeah.
If you had a choice
Yeah.
between 2 singers singing a Christmas song, Bing Crosby or Michael Bublé? Go.
But you haven't established the right question. Do you have a problem with Michael Bublé? Because Ricky does.
I don't have a problem with them. I'm asking, would you go Bing Crosby older,
But
or
you
would
gotta
you
say
go
what
Michael
song.
Bublé?
I like some of the old stuff, old
Thank
school
you.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's because we're older.
Yeah.
But he didn't say he didn't like Bublé.
No,
I can
just-
see it in his face.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay with him.
He's got a good voice.
Yeah.
I'm okay with him too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think, my mother's era, like Frankie Sinatra and those guys rubbed off on me.
Of course. I love them.
Yeah.
If you saw my CD collection, which never is used, because you don't need to use it anymore, you'd see a lot of that. All right, let's get into, I guess, career first.
Yeah.
Right? You're a third generation,
Correct.
meaning explain the history.
Yeah, so my grandfather, Dolph Sr.,
Love it.
he came on the job in 1926
In Everett.
in Everett.
Yeah.
Yep, in Everett. He was born in 1900, become a cop in 1926. He did 39 years of service. He was like, back then, what you consider an old school beat cop. Didn't see a car for probably, I think the first car came out in 1936. I have actually a picture of him and his partner, a guy named Conley.
They have horses then?
They had they were horses. I don't know if he was that they weren't using horses.
Okay.
But that was like in an era like he was probably growing up. Like Everett was still not fully developed as a city, so they were like
The Encore wasn't around then?
no, the Encore was not around. I mean, it was still developing, but they all walked beats, and most of those guys are in great shape. I mean, they walked to work. They walked the whole time at work. They walked home. They weren't really driving cars around much. And
Back then, what was the crime situation? Was it?
A lot of drunk and disorderly. A lot of alcoholism was a crime. Back, being a drunk was a crime.
No, no parking tickets.
They got
cars.
who knows?
Well, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
There's no cars.
But I'm sure they had like domestics as a result. But the laws, they didn't have laws on the books like they do today to deal with that stuff.
Okay.
But anyway, so he come on in the 20s. He worked till 1965. You have to retire. You can stay as late as the last day of the month of your 65th birthday. So he stayed to the last day in 1965. And then my dad, Dolph Jr., he come on in the late 50s, I think around 1950.
So they had overlap?
They overlapped a little bit, yep. My dad used to relieve him, I think at one point for a period.
Does your dad have siblings that could have been on the police force?
Yeah, so
too?
his brother became a fireman and became rose to the rank of deputy chief.
In Everett?
He's still around too, still alive.
Okay.
Yeah. So my grandfather's long gone. He passed about a month after I got out of the police academy in 1993-ish.
But he got to see you.
1993, yeah.
He got to see you come out of the police.
Yeah, he got to see me. Yep, come
That's
out.
nice.
Couldn't make the graduation because he was sick. He was in the hospital. I remember. But so dad comes on in 57, and he stays till around 86. The same year my oldest brother comes on.
Okay.
And my dad left probably a little bit early. He ended up doing 20 years. He had an encounter with a guy named Dominic Sinelli.
Sounds trouble. Sounds like trouble.
It was trouble. Dominic Sinelli and his brother were two bad guys.
Were they from Revere?
Yep.
Yeah, I know
their father was on the.
Well, no.
Well, their father was a Boston cop, and but these guys were, just trouble. And my dad had an encounter with him at a jewelry store robbery. And
I think you remember telling me.
Yeah,
that.
but needless to say, like he was incarcerated, and he was away for like 30 years, and he came out and he went back to doing jewelry store robberies. He ended up getting in a shootout with Woburn police officer Jack McGuire the day after Christmas.
That was on like 128 way?
Yep,
I
right up
remember
128, and they both died in a hail of bullets in a
it was a
snowstorm.
gunfight, yeah.
How old was the guy?
He
50s or 60s?
Yeah, he was probably in his 50s at the time, and McGuire was like getting ready to retire. He was late 50s. He's roughly around the same age as my dad was when my dad left, but my dad had an encounter with him and this other bad guy at the time, and he decided to wrap up.
Get out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but then, and he's had a good retirement since then. He's left in 1986. He's 93 years old.
Oh, bless him.
And he's had a pretty good life.
So retired longer than you're working.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Well, there's an article I share with people in my profession. And the article, it wasn't police specific, but the article had to do with shift work and negative environments, work environments, or stressful work environments. And the title of the article was, it said, retire at 55, live to 86. Retire at 65, die at 67. And it just talks about the
It's tough.
negative impact. Yeah, just stress and the impact on health. And and there's some specific studies on our profession too. It's like now, I think the average life expectancy in policing is like 57 years old right now.
What?
Yeah, it's not the greatest.
Is that from like alcoholism or
Well, it's common.
still,
There
like-
is the high rates of alcoholism, but you know what happens is you
Depression?
work. Well, yeah, you work. Well, you're working this shift work, right? The impacts of working shift work and then stressful environment. They don't. At the end of the day, the police officers don't really get to see a whole bunch of positive stuff. It's usually negative. They're seeing people at their worst. They're seeing a lot of the dark side of society, and that's why I used to tell younger officers.
But well, slight difference too. You're in a city, right?
Yeah, urban.
Because I
yeah.
think about our town. It's a different.
quiet.
It's
Yeah,
a,
no,
it's
it's
a
quiet.
different
It's not-
job to be a
Yeah.
cop in this town.
Yeah, no, where I kind of grew up and I worked in, densely populated area.
So
A
You're
lot
dealing
of,
with
lot of cultures coming
crime.
together.
Yeah, it's changed over the years. But typical urban crime problems. It's Metro Boston, like any other place in the country. That's the urban setting. But it's not so. So when you're young, it's different. You work midnight. It's like you bounce back, you feel okay. But the problem is you accumulate the accumulative stress of working midnights over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. It's not really good. You never get normal sleep. You're not eating right. You're not exercising right. You feel probably lousy all the time. And some guys say, I'm okay. I bounce back. And the reasons why they do it, a lot of them say, well, I do it for my family because it works out for my kids, or my wife's working and I get to help out or whatever. But the impacts on health, not the greatest. So
you're not taking care of your body.
No.
Mentally and physically, kind of, it takes a toll.
yeah. And then that's I'm just talking your regular shift.
Right.
And then,
Yeah, because there's a lot of
then
OT,
these folks
right?
are getting forced. Yeah, you're getting forced. Summertime, people go on vacations. You got people out injured, and you might get forced. You could be on your 4-day schedule, and every night you're working a double because you have to. There's no.
Well, there's forced, and then there's also I need to make more money, so let me work shifts.
Yeah.
To
No,
make
they're
more
doing that
money.
too. Guys and gals are chasing a few bucks to, whether it's pay the regular bills at the house, send a kid to private school, or buy a car, whatever, go on vacation.
But their overtime is different from our overtime. They're dealing with domestic.
Oh yeah, you're doing the regular job still.
Right.
Yeah.
Your regular job's
Yep.
different from a regular job in society where we're not seeing all the shit that's going on.
Yeah. So, but
Wait, so finishing up on the legacy thing, right?
Yeah.
So you got to your generation, and you're not the only one of your sibling,
yeah.
right?
So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So the three. So after my dad, my oldest brother gets on in '86. My brother John comes on in '87. My sister Gina comes on in '89.
That's incredible.
And I come on in '92. I pull up and I'm the youngest out of the four.
All four.
All four. Yeah. All four.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's all that was left. My
Was
mom,
your dad, like when you were youngsters, going, "You're all going to be on the force," or he just didn't say
No, not
anything?
at all. It was kind of like it's just a natural thing. My two brothers work in insurance business. My oldest brother didn't get on until back then it was considered old, like 28, 29. My brother John and I got on younger. John was 23, I was 24. I think my sister was a little older, like mid to late 20s.
Did you go right out of college?
Sure. Well, when I come out of college in '89, the economy was lousy in Massachusetts. Wasn't there was layoffs actually, so I had to wait. I probably could have had another year's service, but they were hiring laid off officers from other cities and towns.
But you knew upon graduation that's what you were doing.
Yeah, I kind of came back. So I was exploring other areas of interest, but I always kind of came back, and then part of that was like more, growing up watching my dad. My grandfather was long retired by the time I was growing up. It was even born. He was retired before I was born, but I got to see my dad. I think the biggest things were the relationships he had with people, just the lay of the land. He knew he knew everybody. He knew every street, what was going on, and and he's considered a good guy.
Yeah.
I saw the mutual respect he showed people.
And
people
his
showed him.
nickname growing up?
Popeye.
Love it.
Popeye. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. You brought that up to me. People you knew that were
one of my
friends.
Tracy, one of Cassandra's best buds, her mom, God rest her soul.
Yeah.
When we found out she was from Everett, we made the connection. She goes,
Yeah.
Popeye?
Yeah.
You're friends with Popeye's son?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So when I was a young cop, I used to get stopped by a lot of older folks, and they'd be like, "Are you Popeye Mazzie's kid?" And then some would say, because I look like a lot like him.
Yeah.
As well. But so it was good. It was nice joining the family and family business.
you get on the force, and then we obviously know that you were the youngest police chief. How long were you on a beat before you became?
I did like every other officer. I was on a shift and worked. Back then we had split shifts. We'd work two nights midnight to 8 in the morning, 2 nights 4 to midnight. It was rotate. It was midnight to 8, 4 to midnight, and then you do it again. Then you're off a couple days. And I did that for a couple of years, and I started taking the promotional exams. Did well and made sergeant fairly young. Then a couple of years later, I made lieutenant. Stayed lieutenant for about 4.5, 5 years, which is probably.
How old were you then?
I was young.
20s?
So, yeah, I was still in my 20s. Lieutenant was probably, I'd say probably my favorite rank. I got to still do some police work, but
And you don't have to deal with all the crap that at the top.
well, you don't own everything. You don't own all the headaches, but I got to be involved in a lot of community initiatives and kind of be creative, which is good. And had a team of officers to work with, which is always good. And then made captain, and it wasn't captain long, and there was going to be a change at the top, and I really wasn't sure if I wanted to put in for it, and I think some of my colleagues kept pushing me to, hey, you should pursue it, because what happened was we had an outside chief at one point, and those don't always go.
What do you
well.
mean? Like you hired him from out?
Yeah,
never
outside.
worked in this.
Outside.
Okay.
Yeah, outside.
Does that happen a lot?
It happens when the department thinks they need someone to come in and be a change agent and clean.
I would think that everyone that's been plugging away would resent that.
And that's what happens in some cases.
Sometimes they want someone clean who hasn't been there with all the politics
Well,
and all the crap.
but I'm
and they
just
can
saying
come
the
in and clean it
actual
up.
police
Yeah.
on the force are like, why are they bringing that guy?
Yeah.
in?
Well, what happens is some departments end up having some bad stuff go down and or has a bad culture and they need to clean something up and they don't think there's someone in house that can do it or it's going to be too hard. They bring someone.
So you
else.
said they did have an outside person,
We did.
but
We
then,
had-
then
yeah.
they're like, we've had enough of this, and then let's
yeah,
put
that
Stevie
person
there.
was there like 3.5 years, 4 years, and so people were worried about that happening again because it wasn't the greatest experience. And I ended up going through the process. And
But your family there.
Good.
Everybody, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your dad, your
Yep.
brothers, and
No, I mean, I was
yeah.
fully invested. I mean, I ate, slept, drank, policing stuff, and I liked it. You know, my dad used to say like, "Don't take things so seriously," but I, you know, it's one of those like any other job.
But you must have learned if you took it too seriously, from the moment I met you, you seemed like you were calm, cool, and collected, and maybe
Yeah.
you were keeping it inside.
I feel like when I met you, you almost just became chief. What year?
03.
Yeah, so I met
Yeah,
you in
03.
04.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
you was, jeez.
Yeah, January 29th, 03, I got appointed chief.
Wow.
And how old were you?
I was 35.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Good for you.
That's the youngest.
Yeah. Well,
That's
the
amazing.
nice thing about it was it gave me being on the younger side in my enough of my career to to have some long-term goals and make some change. And I wasn't afraid. The place, no place is perfect. Not that the place is real bad, but it gave me opportunity to implement some change. Culture is a big thing. Having a good culture, being responsive to the community, and kind of building a esprit de corps and looking the part.
I mean, we're probably
acting the part.
We could literally talk to you for days on this, but I don't think we're going to go into detail about this. But the nuance of like the mayor and what their agenda is,
Yeah.
and then you got to work with that,
Yeah.
right? Like there's the political
side's
aspect
tough.
is huge.
Just want to jump in for 1 second.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
so 2003 was a great year for you. Your son was born. You won a championship, and you became chief.
Is
Right?
that the year we won the championship?
It was the year before I got there. So
I think it was. You're
that
right.
was your rookie year.
Yeah, that's right.
So you
Oh,
won the
that's right.
championship.
That's right, we
and
did.
Nicky was born,
Nicky
right?
was born in 03. That's right.
And you became chief. What a year,
Yeah,
2000.
that was a
Wow.
good
That's
year.
what I mean.
That was a good
For you,
year.
Steve.
Wow. It's a good one.
See that? He's a historian.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the year.
Good memory, Ricky.
Yeah.
I try.
Yeah, so the politics is tough. Like, a lot of people don't understand. When I first...
And you and just I think this
Yeah.
is an important number. 160 people.
Not
You're
then. Not back then.
Oh.
So that's what it's grown to over the
It
years.
still must have been over 100.
Yeah,
right?
because we went to things like parking enforcement became a big issue. So we had all the parking enforcement people.
Oh, did the Encore bring
911.
a ton of people?
Yeah, so Encore beefed up the development of Encore, just the overall development of the city. But that played a big piece.
Yeah.
needing the extra personnel to help police that.
And I don't know if this is the
area.
right time, but has crime gone up because of the Encore?
Yeah. So what the research we did is crime's going to go up. It's what kind of crime, and the kind of increases we've seen what we kind of predicted based on when you bring a casino in, and it's the nice thing.
Not violent crime, different crime.
No, yeah, it's
Money.
Yeah, a lot of the issues down there again, like public disorder, drunkenness, and some larcenies.
Do people come out of there with money and some like undesirables want to like roll them and take their money? Does that happen?
Yeah, not
I feel like you're pretty safe right on the
yeah,
premises.
it is. Well, you got to keep in mind, like that place has cameras all over the place, and interior, exterior, the property. It's on the outskirts of the city. Highway access is pretty quick once you leave the place, and so it's not. They do a good job. We have a good relationship with them, but they do a good job overall. But what happens is they call it the tourist effect. When you bring in thousands of people to one place, you're gonna get an increase in certain types of offenses. And so, yeah, we had like good declines of crime over the years, but when that popped up, I'm like, I think our decreases are gonna kind of be canceled out by what that brought in. So it's a matter of like for example, the things that happen there are very local to the area. They're not impacting the rest of the community or neighboring communities like some people were worried about.
So I have to just assume that having a casino obviously generates revenue. How much of the share is it from Everett to the state of Boston or the state of the city of Boston or the state of Massachusetts? Like, does Everett benefit as much or not as much as they should because Boston wants to take their cut and
that's the babe. So everybody was getting a piece of the
Menino
pie.
was pissed.
Yeah,
wasn't he? Because he wanted it in Boston.
Yeah, well,
Boston
it wasn't in the city though.
Yeah, I know.
But so everybody got what they call mitigation money that surrounded or was impacted. You had to show an impact on your community. So pretty much everybody that touches the city got mitigation money, and they get it annually. And then some cities, I think, even got impact money that weren't touching, but
They just gave it to him.
well, you had to show there was going to be some kind of impact in the community.
Did Revere get in on it?
I don't think Revere got anything.
Yeah, Revere. I think Revere made a faux pas early on in the process, and I think they didn't get it originally. They might be getting something now.
Suffolk Downs would have been the perfect place for that casino.
It's working out. I think it's working out overall. But yeah, so Everett gets.
The only problem with that
mitigation.
location is traffic. Because I feel like if you're closer to 93,
You're right
and-
in 90.
Yeah, you're right
I feel
off the
like it's
highway.
easy. It's not that bad to get there.
Yep.
That would have been tricky.
Did they call it like Encore on the Water or something? What are they?
Encore Boston Harbor. is
A
the former
Boston
name.
Harbor.
Yeah.
So that they kind of bring Boston
you
into it.
absolutely feel like you're in Vegas for that little spot.
Yeah. They did,
Like-
they did a nice job.
yeah.
Like, even the landscaping, they brought in like
Yeah.
mature trees that were already grown. And like when you're walking around the property, it's like, wow.
I haven't been there. Have you-
Never?
No.
Yeah.
You?
Did you ever go there for fun, or were you always there for work?
No, strictly business.
Yeah.
You really haven't
Even
ever been?
even today, no. I mean, it was strictly business for me.
Well, I'm not a
Yep.
gambler. You're not. You're
Yeah.
not a gambler,
No,
right?
really, no.
Yeah.
I used to go to Foxwoods to play poker,
Oh,
but it's gambling. Go to casinos. It's no offense to whoever goes, but it's like for suckers. It's built to take your money. It's like carnival
Right.
games for adults. It's like you're gonna lose
you do scratch tickets.
once in a while.
What's the difference between a scratch ticket and going to Vegas?
I'm not sitting there
Or going
blowing
to-
my check
Right.
like on a
right.
you know,
You're
slot
$2.
machines. And,
Right.
you know,
I got you.
It's a sickness for some people.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
when
yeah, it's a real
gambling,
addiction.
It's an
you know?
addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we've got some questions on the law enforcement front, but
Yeah.
are there anything? Is there any big thing that we missed that you want to make sure you comment on? I mean, some of the questions we have, I think, will spark discussions and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Well, you brought up originally. I didn't get a chance to touch on it, like the politics,
Yeah.
and that part's gotten hotter, especially in the last 4 years, I'd say. Like when I first started in Everett, they had a bicameral form of government. And what I mean by that is they had a mayor. So it was always a strong mayor. But it was 2-year terms. And then they had
Board of Selectmen or something.
city council,
Yeah.
18 of them, and a board of aldermen, 7 of them.
18?
Yeah. So it's 26 elected officials had to deal with. And I remember the councilman met.
What vote makes things happen? Like, how many votes does the mayor own versus
Well, stuff
the-
would pass the council and then have to go to the alderman, but if the councilman met twice a month, the alderman met twice a month.
that is fraught
so every
with-
week. So yeah, so I would get dragged into a lot of these issues, especially during election years. And then at some point, they did some reform and charter reform, and they changed it. And they got rid of the board of aldermen. They kept the council, but they reduced it in numbers, which I thought was good. And they extended the mayor's term to a 4-year term. So it wasn't always felt like it was like
What was it before?
it was a 2-year term. All of them
Oh.
were 2-year terms. I think the council's still 2-year term, and the mayor's a 4-year term.
So you think it's better to have that because
It's better.
you don't deal with the
you're
politics?
You're not always
of,
running for. Felt like
Okay.
there was always an election year, practically.
Did they ever put pressure on you?
Well,
Like the mayor. Like, all right, look, you got to clean up
is
this.
the
You gotta
same
do
mayor
that,
there?
You know.
Is the same
yeah,
guy
so,
there?
so I've worked for 3 different mayors in my time there.
But this guy's been there a long time.
yes, yeah,
He's
maybe
young.
Yeah,
He's fairly
yeah,
young.
Yeah, well, yeah, he started young. He's
Yeah.
getting older like the rest of us.
I know.
But no, he's a lot of his ideas on policing were in line with mine. I mean, we were on the same page a lot in terms of how we wanted the police to be in the community and what we wanted them to accomplish and how to interact and all that stuff. So, it's not. I mean, there are times where at the end of the day, you can remember, any elected official has to get elected or reelected.
Right.
I'm appointed. I'm not elected.
So
And-
there's no term when you're
there is. So most city
a
governments.
contract. You have to do a
Yeah, so there's a term like most of them. Like I was a 3-year appointment that was in the charter, and then after 3 years you get reappointed. So I was appointed and reappointed multiple times by 3 different mayors, and lasted as
So
long
you have
as
to
they
keep
did.
that relationship.
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
right?
Well, and there's no doubt you definitely bang heads.
Was there any time you were scared at one of those appointments where you're like, this guy's?
Oh, I had a slew of problems. I mean, some people wanted to. They wanted to get rid of me one time because I raided a bar that was owned by elected official for from drug distribution stuff, and I knew I was gonna it was gonna cause me headaches, but at the end of the day, I was like, hey, I took an oath to do my job, and integrity was
That's
important
called
to me.
justice.
Well, no, I mean you just do your job, and I was always like, yeah, I'll let the chips fall.
Yeah,
but that's the politics.
If I'm gonna get fired for doing my job, then so be it. But I didn't, and doesn't mean I didn't have problems, but.
Is that process you're waiting? Because next Tuesday we'll let you know.
Well,
what is that process?
And that's what did happen to me. At one point I didn't get reappointed. It got dragged on, and they eventually reappointed me. And a lot of it had to do with politics. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think anybody I worked for, they always knew I had the city's interests at heart, and I didn't take shortcuts. I tried to do the right things for the people.
So let
in
me
the
ask you a
community.
question: comparing city chief versus Mayberry RFD.
Yeah.
Please tell me the chief of a city gets paid more than in the middle of nowhere, or not necessarily.
Yeah, you would think not all the time. Yeah, no, because I
Because
know
all that politics, all that headache, all those people.
I know. No, because I knew, like, you look around, and sometimes there was some, like, suburban chiefs making pretty good money or more money than a
With
chief
a
in an
far
urban-
less headaches.
Yeah, less personnel, less headaches, less politics, less crime, less real problems.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. It's a matter of what a town values and can afford or thinks they should be paying somebody. But some of the, you'd be shocked, like nationwide, some of the big cities, they don't, the compensation is not.
And is the
Close to-
pensions always the same too? Like,
No, every state's different. Every
but
state's
I'm saying
different.
in Massachusetts, right?
Yeah.
If you're in the middle of nowhere in Massachusetts
No,
and
same.
you
Pensions
retire,
the same.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, pension's the same.
okay.
Like at MASH, you have to do, well, it just changed, but my era, I think we were contributing like, I was contributing like probably 12% of my weekly pay went to my pension. And then to maximize your pension, you have to do 32 years of service and be a minimum of 55 to
Yeah,
max
you
out.
got to the level where what do you get for your
I was
pension?
maxed out because I'm 50,
And what does that end up being?
80%. Yeah.
So, Stevie, is it like desirable to do you want a job up where there's no crime and nothing going on, or is that boring?
depends
Like, is
what's-
it like
Now you probably be
Well,
okay with that.
I guess, do you like watching paint dry, Ricky?
Yeah, no, I couldn't get through my day
no, I
like
mean,
that either.
Yeah, but if you're getting paid for it,
It depends on what your interests are. Like right now, I'm retired. I'm not looking for a job. I had my fill of police work and being a chief.
you don't want to be a producer of a podcast.
I don't
Maybe.
know, I don't know if we're like shifting gears, but like before you, so you had a really meteoric rise
Right, yeah, I
to
went
the
fast.
top.
Yep.
So like, were you ever like, banging down doors, going like putting your life at risk? Like,
my first part of my career, I was out trying to do.
What was
police
that
work.
for? Like 6 or 7 years,
Little
maybe.
bit- probably like close to my first, like even
10?
up till 'cause I just
Sergeant,
ran.
you do
No,
that
I
too?
did it up until even lieutenant,
Okay.
and then you become really more administrative.
but were you like fearing for your life at times? Like,
Oh yeah, I mean you run into. I mean, yeah, you can.
when you
Well,
open
you know
a
what, that's
door,
I'll be
you-
honest with you. Back in the old days, Ricky, when I was a young cop, I used to say I'd rather go kick in I'd rather kick in the door of a crack house, knowing there's like bad guys there, because I knew what I was dealing with,
right.
as opposed to doing some like jumping out of a perfectly good plane, skydiving or something like that.
Yeah. But you don't know what's on the other side of that.
No, that's what you
door,
don't, but you
right?
do and you don't. I mean, you do your homework, but you develop a kind of a comfort
So
zone.
that's good. One of the questions we wanted to ask is,
Yeah.
do you? And there might have, I'm probably more than one, but scariest moment you had. Do you?
Yeah, well, I wasn't really,
Is it a general thought? Oh, I was scared when I had to do this, or do you have? Is there an incident where you're like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
there's
that?
definitely moments. You say scary. So there's a lot of moments you're like, the hair on the back of your neck goes up. Your senses, your sixth sense kicks in. Like this is danger, something's not
Yeah.
right. But we do deal with. I've dealt with people who are armed with guns, with knives.
You had machete stuff, right? Did you
yeah,
have
some of the
machete?
gang kids used to carry machetes. Yep. They carry anything to get their hands on. They carry like butcher knives in the kitchen. A lot of them worked in kitchens, and a whole bunch of other type of sharp edge weapons. But yeah, some guys used to drive around because they couldn't get weapons. They'd put bricks in their car. And they'd come on and assault somebody with a brick,
Isn't that nice?
stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's been
You
enough.
personally, you're in there. It's like, because that's why for me, I respect like law enforcement. Like I hate. We won't get into politics and defunding police and stuff like that. But your job, like when you roll a window down, remember the guy on the highway. You don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to be on the other side of that door when someone rolls a
especially
window
today,
down.
especially nowadays.
It's dangerous, and
–
people don't really respect anything.
I think the tough thing is that, like any profession, there's good guys and there's jerks.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
so, like, if you have a cop who ends up being a jerk, and then all of a sudden every other cop is labeled that because that
Correct.
one knucklehead,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm just saying for you personally,
And they get
going
dealt
into
with.
the
I mean,
scary.
any profession, like you hit on the head. Every profession's got, marginal employees or problem employees. And I know it's probably people say it's a little more serious in our business. It is, but I'll be honest with you. People think cops are out killing people every day. You know who's killed more people than our profession? Doctors. But you don't see them on
By
the
making
front
mistakes,
page.
you mean just
making mistakes. Or some people that probably should be pulled out of the profession or lose their license.
Wow.
And don't.
Right.
If you did a little deeper dive on it, like I have, you'll see a lot of people don't make it out of operating room.
Got another
sometimes.
question for you. This is, as chief of police, what's the hardest decision that you ever had to make?
As a chief, I think basically letting someone go, especially officers, and it doesn't matter if they have 5 years on the job, 15, 25 years. Used to joke around cops and people too. They make mistakes, but sometimes the mistakes are serious. We used to say it's a mistake of the heart, a mistake of the mind.
Do you have to make a decision, like a political decision, where you're
Well,
getting pressure to let someone go that you really don't want to let go?
Oh yeah,
but you have
there's
to do
always
it?
those dynamics there.
That's your tough job,
But the accountability, I mean, the expectations and accountability today, a lot higher than it ever was before.
Yeah.
People, and it depends. Like if you have someone who's, brutalizing people or assaulting people, stuff like that's not good. But then you have other people like, these are, not perfect human beings in the profession. They have the same problems the rest of society has.
Right.
So you got people, over my time as chief, I dealt with people with alcohol problems, drug problems, mental health problems. I mean, problems with their kids, guys who have kids who are addicts, or family members, a wife who has mental health problems. I mean, a whole slew of other
And you
problems.
manage that, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You're managing
You got to
people.
deal with these people. They, they're trying to come to work and do a job, and that's why I always I did my best to look out for officers and try to keep my finger on the pulse of what was going on or intervene. Intervention is important when someone's struggling because they're like, how can you help anybody if you don't have your own life squared away or you have this looming issue? I've had officers who, with kids with sick children, guys with sick children, some who have died,
That's horrible.
some who are going to die. So it's like they're regular people.
Right.
And that's like this whole perception that, no, these people don't come to work looking to hurt or harm people. It can be an emotionally charged environment. You deal like today, it is more difficult. I didn't grow up like when I was on the streets. I didn't have like this thing thrust in my face every 2 seconds. And someone
right. Yeah, someone
calling your names and all kinds of stuff, and daring you to do this, that, and the other thing. That was it was a different era. You didn't get that, but that's pretty.
That
common.
makes things more difficult.
Yeah,
today.
It's just, but
But then the dash cams are good too, so the public can see what you see because people lie too and say, "Oh, this, that, and the other." So
no, but the thing
it
that
works.
stinks is it's all like sometimes stuff's filmed out of context. too.
Correct. Yeah.
Like you didn't see what happened before.
You're correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you
Yep.
threw the
Yep.
brick at the guy's head,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
So and now you got AI,
Oh, we asked
so
you to
maybe
get
it
out of
never
the
even
car,
happened.
Like get out of the vehicle 10
Yeah.
times or roll your window down.
I will say every community is different, like in every department. So every department has their own history and leadership and culture. So like what I was doing in my community could be completely different from like next door in like Malden or Medford or
But you
Revere or Chelsea.
you share thoughts with the other chiefs.
We
right?
do, but what I'm saying is like I think the expectation is that everything's going to be the same. It's not. Even like up here, I mean, in the suburbs, it's different. In rural areas, it's different. It's all different because they have their own, like I said, their own politics, their own culture, their own history. Not like I would say, leadership was good everywhere. Sometimes it isn't.
In your bio, it said like you wanted to be involved in the community, and try to like maybe interact with the youth and try to get some sort of like bond there where, like, look, stuff's gonna happen, but we just try to, you were involved in that, right?
Yeah,
in your town?
I got involved working with young people. I was like the DARE officer first one than when we started that. But it was nice because I got to do some police work, and then I got to go into schools and work with kids. It's not the pressures that kids have today. They've always had, but they're probably worse now.
Again, with that stupid thing, right?
Never
The phone.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I look back, like that was some of the best times of my career. Like I met kids like from 5th grade who I know today, they're anywhere from 35 to 42.
Did any of them
old.
go on to the police force?
Yeah,
Like they're like, oh my God.
A ton of them have come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like we're interviewing kids. You're doing interviews and someone tells you like, hey, one of the main reasons I'm interested in
You
police
came
was because
into
of you.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
mean,
good feeling,
it's
right?
neat
I mean, you
stuff.
touch those kids
Yeah.
and you, geez, affected
So
their lives.
we put a heavy emphasis on working with, to me, like most cops have a soft spot for young people and the elderly, the senior citizens in the community. And they're vulnerable because they're both the most vulnerable groups as well. So, but we put a heavy emphasis on doing as much as we can with young people. It's harder today because cities change dramatically. You have a whole bunch of different cultures and language barriers and stuff like that, and you have to deal with. The other thing is some of the folks that come, the immigrants that come from places where I hate to say it, most of the places they come from, the police aren't really seen as the good guys. So we have to kind of
Change that.
break those barriers down and say, hey, we don't police like they do where you came from.
You mean like they're afraid of the police because they're like on some payroll to some drug cartel?
Yeah.
Correct.
Like something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, they're not really respecting civil rights.
Right.
In some of the
All right, so
other countries.
because I want to make sure we have time for all the other stuff, right?
We have stuff?
So
We have
his
other
stuff.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so I think you have a question.
I do?
Yeah.
Oh.
It might be number two on the list for this segment.
Oh, you talking about? Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like, so, all right. So you live the life. So
Don't keep pointing to the screen.
There's no screen, but like
right.
your favorite. I'm sorry. No, maybe the camera. Like your favorite. What was your favorite like police show? Either like growing up. I know we're older, right? So we go way back. But what would you say was your favorite that you would watch?
And did you not want to watch it because you're like, I live this. I don't need to see it on.
Yeah.
Or did you?
So.
Not Barney Miller.
No, I'm thinking, Barney Miller. Barney Miller was great. I remember as a kid watching Barney Miller. When I was a cop, probably, first of all, most of the police shows are garbage.
Really?
It's stuff, well, it's created problems. For example, the general public believes like what they see on
Has to be true.
No, CSI on television.
Everything's wrapped up.
That's the case is wrapped up in a month. In a night, an hour, an episode.
Yeah.
And that's not the reality.
Right.
Or, hey, I saw, you run into people in the street like, hey, you have to do it like this. I saw it on the show. And it's like, no.
Okay,
and every
buddy.
state has different laws and ways of doing business. But so I'm not a fan because most of it is garbage. Is it entertaining? Probably. But
I'm pretty sure that when the CSI series and whatever took off, there were so many kids that wanted to get into that.
Yeah,
right.
And it's a lot.
It blew up. Like how
forensic science
forensics
is
really
big, and
interesting.
that theme comes up a lot. And the only problem
But
is
it's boring, isn't it?
Well,
in
they
reality?
finally get the job, and they're like,
Well-
"Wow, this isn't what I saw on TV."
well, it's not because your average
You're in a
police
lab.
officer, like in a state like Mass, there's a state crime lab
Yeah.
that has a certain amount of jobs that do that work, and that's not you're not really doing like the officers who are doing like policing on the streets aren't the same people that are working in the lab.
And Stevie, you usually get the DNA results in a half hour too, right? When you would do a DNA test, like on the show, they come back in like an hour.
That's what I mean.
Well, it probably takes
So
months,
it's
right?
done more harm, and then those same people who are watching this stuff now they're sitting on a jury in a real trial, and they're thinking, "Hey, but I saw her on CSI or whatever." But back to the shows, Ricky.
You got to give me a show. Give me one show.
NYPD Blue. I thought was entertaining. Sipowicz's a great
You love
character.
Sipowicz. Yeah, he was good.
And
think
even
Jimmy
before that,
Smits came.
Law and Order. One of my favorites
Shoom, boom, or
was
whatever.
My buddy loves Law and Order. There's like how many
Detect-
seasons?
Is that still on?
Detective Lenny
Is
Briscoe.
that still
yeah,
on?
Frisco?
Do you remember Briscoe?
I do.
And
my
you
buddy
named
That's
your
my
dog.
dog. My golden retriever was named
Yeah.
Briscoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lenny Briscoe.
Oh, so I should have realized that was the reason. Okay.
So, but I don't. To be honest with you, as time has gone on, I don't really watch a whole bunch of TV in general. Mm-hmm. Never mind police shows.
It's probably better off that way.
Yeah, no, I feel much better not.
One last law enforcement question. Funniest or a funny moment or funniest moment?
I will say, the job can be, sad at times and it can be entertaining at times. There's been a lot of funny stuff over the years. But I remember one night we were doing a briefing. This was like I was on the street with my guys. I was a supervisor. nighttime. We're in street clothes, getting ready to work on a little operation for the night. We're in a parking lot, and I think it was a gal. She was a gal came up to us, and she just got out of work, and she was in one of the unions. She was either labor or something like that, labor's union, and she came up to us, and she was asking us. She was looking to score us some drugs. And she asked for like 4 of us were in a semicircle talking rather,
and didn't realize
who we were. I mean, well, she wouldn't have. We were in street clothes, and we were shooting the breeze, and I started asking a question. So, where do you work? And she said, I'm in local, blah blah blah. And I said, I said, these guys are local 633. These 3 guys are local 633. I'm local 634. And she's kind of like, she looked like dumbfounded, like, what local's that? I've never heard
Electrician?
of it. I've never heard of those. And took out our badges and IDs. Yeah. So the local was for the patrolman's local, and I was in the supervisor's local. No, we had a nice conversation and sent her on her way. And,
got it.
But we couldn't help her out with what she was looking for that night.
That's kind of fun.
Funny little things like that. But
bad timing on her part.
Yeah, bad timing, wrong place, wrong time. It's a lot of times. I remember when I first got on the job, I was training my brother John, who you guys have met.
Yep.
He was my FTO, one of them, and I remember us going to a call up in one of the housing projects and knocking on the door, and the lady opens the door, and we're standing there next to each other, and we start talking to her, and she's looking back and forth, and she's like, "Are they cloning you people today nowadays?" Because him and I looked a lot alike when we were younger. There's a whole bunch of fun. I mean, we could talk.
Right? You think you'll ever write?
Yeah.
Stuff?
So one thing I did want to write a book. A couple things I've had interest in. I want to write a children's book about policing.
Okay.
And the second one is I want to write kind of a real life experience book because there's so much good stuff. And the good thing is I have a lot of good stuff, material from my grandfather to my dad, my siblings.
Your memory's pretty good. I would almost make sure you put those things down now so that like 5 years from now you're like,
I wrote some. I didn't do as great a job as I would have liked to, but I wrote some notes, did some stuff, did some recording with my dad.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Trying to get some stuff down. But we'll see. I mean, one of the biggest issue I'm dealing with, and you guys have been there, is dad's 93, mother's 88, and their health hasn't been the greatest. It started going downhill right after I retired. So a lot of people say, like, you're having a great time. I'm having some fun. And as you guys know, I'm doing a lot of traveling. I have been. Oh,
that's a good segue. A little bit, but yeah.
So no, I had the mentality I'll travel more when I retire, but then I had an experience probably like 10 years ago that said, wait a minute, what am I waiting for? Let's get going because you don't know if you're going to be here. You don't know what kind of shape you're going to be in and all that. So I picked up the traveling. So doing that, and then I get come like late summer up until recently, I chased football every weekend with not only my son Nick, but now Gabriella works in college football too. Just went to the Army-Navy game, which is a great experience 2 weeks ago. And
so the Mazzie family went from law enforcement to football. Now football is what...
We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah. All right, so good segue into you're retired now, and you talked a little bit about the adjustment where, you got parents and you got to make sure, but how have you adjusted to retirement? Do you feel like you're twiddling your thumbs or you're still as active?
No, so I had, that question gets posed a lot. I kind of planned my retirement. I had a plan. I was trying to stick to the plan. My dad wanted me to stay till 2026.
Why?
Well, if you were paid attention earlier in the show, you would know why. 2026 is a date that's important. When did my grandfather start?
What?
1926.
Oh, so it'll be 100 years
100
of
straight
Mazzie.
years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
isn't that 101? Isn't 25 really the 100th
that's true
year?
too, yeah. Needless to say, I was like, that sounds great, Dad. It sounds great, but it's a couple things. All your family and friends are gone. The community's changed dramatically.
And Stevie, when you write the book, just put 2026.
Yeah, people
it'll look good in the book.
You don't need it. You hit your mark.
Yeah, people don't care. No, it's just to put a couple extra years in for that alone was not really in the cards for me.
And wait, none of your siblings are on the force?
They're all retired. Look, so they all got on before me. So they all started retiring. I think my oldest brother's been gone at least 5 years now.
Do they have
through
any
16.
kids that want to get on the police
No,
force?
ironically, so that's funny. It's a great question. Out of all my nephews and nieces, not one. We got a couple nurses. I got one that wants to get in the fire department.
Can have an engineer.
Yeah, my son's an engineer student. My daughter works in college football. But I think what happened was the kids grew up overexposed to the business and probably heard
politics.
Too much. Well, between the like I remember my nephew said, he goes, everything I hear from you guys is when he talk, there's not a lot of. It sounds negative. It's not a positive environment, and it can be, but the kind of the negative outweighs the positive at times.
You hinted at something which my wife's a nurse.
Yeah.
And we were at a Christmas party a long, long time ago, and someone threw out the fact that the reason why you see a lot of nurses police is because they're both used to the shift work.
Yeah.
Like the strange shifts and that they have that in common. So do you find that a lot?
Yeah.
Do you find,
yeah.
or more so than the average profession?
It used to be common. And there's probably a lot of commonalities too between the two jobs as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's no interest, and I'm good with it. And people said, "Oh, you're disappointed your kids don't want to be involved." No, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, let them pick their own path.
They got their own thing.
The other thing is they didn't grow up like I grew up in the same city where my dad worked. I saw him go out the day every day as a street cop. I mean, my kids were born. I was already a police chief, and I used to joke around. I wasn't a real cop anymore. Anyway, so
it's different now, though, Stevie. Too
yeah.
the way the lack of respect in inner cities.
You know what? But again, it's community to community. It depends on reputations and what you do or don't do. It's still a great job. I think I tell young people, because I still teach in a police academy. Still, it's a noble profession. You can do a real lot of good stuff, especially in an urban environment where there's a lot going on. You can help people in a variety of ways. And I always say, thank God the seats are filled, that people still want to come into the profession and do it, because it is important. I mean, the thin blue line is thin. I mean, people don't realize that, the line between chaos and order is
very close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Creative outlets.
Yes.
So I remember when you first, because no offense, I thought you were kidding when you were talking about the Driftwood stuff, right? And the only reason why I thought you were kidding is because you kid.
I kid a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times you'll, the famous...
my stories from softball.
The famous story of George Delaney getting attacked by a bear. And we all thought that you were telling us the truth. So when you said Driftwood, I'm like, come on. And then I think I went, whatever, you showed me it. So how long ago was that when you first started?
So what happened was, after I got divorced, I ended up living up in downtown Newburyport.
Yeah.
Right by the water.
Beautiful spot along the water.
And then Briscoe, I had Briscoe half the time. I didn't want to give up Briscoe, so shared Briscoe. And when he was with me, I'd take him out late. We'd go for a lot of walks along the Merrimack River.
Underneath the bridge, like that area?
Well, somewhere, right downtown there. But you have the whole stretch of waterfront. You can go as long as you want. But so a lot of times I go out late at nighttime, and I take him in the wintertime, and storms would, blast through there. And I remember a few times I was out, I'd see some stuff washed up, and I'd have my headlamp on or my light, and I'd be like, "What is that?" I'd look at some stuff, and it was interesting.
Oh, it looks cool.
Things would
even on its own, just in nature.
Stuff would just washed up, variety of stuff, and I always had an interest. I liked art when I was a kid.
Briscoe wouldn't go and get it in his mouth?
No, he wouldn't. No, he would get stuff that was useless. He'd pick up stuff that had no use to me. But so I just started seeing pieces of wood, and I was like, wow, that thing's been in the ocean for a while, and the ocean does some neat stuff to the wood. And what I would do is, if I saw something of interest, I would pull it out somewhat big, and I get the dog on the leash. It's wintertime. I'd take the wood and I'd drag it to an area and dump it behind a bush or something,
and then come back the next day.
Come back the next day. get the wood early in the morning.
But what would you do to it? I thought you carved, but you don't carve.
Yeah, no. So I'm not carving. Not yet. I had my wife did buy me some tools to carve, but I didn't get into the carving part. So what I would do, like a lot of people would call me up or hit me up. They send me a text. Hey, Steve, I found this piece of driftwood at the beach. Do you want it? And I'd look at it, I'd be like, yeah, no, thank you for thinking of me, but no. And
you started to develop an eye for the right driftwood.
Yeah, so someone asked me that. Someone says, does the wood talk to you? And I said...
The driftwood whisperer.
Yeah, and it does. So I can immediately look a piece and say, I can do something with that. Or that's completely useless. That'd be good for
And
the
you,
fun.
at some point, you were doing it, and then you were going to local shops, right? And then were you called the chief?
So here's what happened. So I started collecting it, right?
Yeah.
I collected in the winter, and because after I got divorced, I was in a smaller place, didn't have a lot of room, and I would store it outside, had a little patio area. I'd store it for the winter.
I remember that.
And then come springtime, I'd start taking my pieces out. I'd clean them up. I'd start laying them out, looking at them like, okay. I had ideas. Like every time I collect something, I'm like, I know I can make this with this one and that one. And so what I started making.
Did you combine them together?
Some I combined. Yep.
Okay.
So I ended up, some pieces would get, I'd make centerpieces out of, and you can put tea lights in. I'd drill holes and put tea lights in, and they could be like go on a fireplace mantle, go on a big dining room table, so on.
Did he ever offer up a driftwood piece to you?
I couldn't afford them.
Yeah,
They were
no,
too highly
I did.
priced
Oh,
for
that's
me.
right.
No, that was like one piece. Then I made some. There were some pieces I would put hooks on and make like in a mudroom.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were coastal themed.
Oh, like to hang your jacket?
Yeah, you hang
Like
your
some of that?
jackets
Yeah,
or whatever
that's cool.
on. So coastal themed stuff. But the key was some of the pieces of wood are really neat. They're really worn.
Would you finish them?
No, I sometimes I'd leave them alone.
Yeah.
I did. What I would do sometimes is to change the coloring. I'd put them in like a bath of bleach. Clean them, and then but depending on how long you leave them in there, you can lighten the wood. If you want to lighten the wood up, you put them in the water with bleach.
Will they last long? Like I feel like if you finish it, maybe it'll preserve it longer.
But but you got to change the coloring and stuff too. It depends on the piece of wood. At minimum, I clean them, but I wouldn't always be like putting a finish on it. No,
You're using present tense, so you're still doing this.
I am and I'm not. I haven't done pieces lately. So what happens? I started making.
Is there good
pieces.
driftwood up in Wells?
There's some wells. I get up the coast, out in Plum Island, along the Merrimack. Anytime I'm by the ocean, I'm always poking around. But I haven't. Yeah, no, I haven't made the complete.
Is it usually after a good storm?
Yes.
So you're like, I got to
winter
go after
storms.
this.
Yeah, winter storms. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the
Johnny wakes up
best
with
time.
driftwood every morning.
Yeah, no,
You had to go there. You had to go there.
But I started making pieces, and then I would give a few away for gifts, and then I started making Christmas trees. I made these like about foot and a half tall Christmas trees out of driftwood. Those were popular.
That's a lot of driftwood.
Yeah, they're small pieces, but
You never sold. I thought you had them in stores.
yeah. So what happened was a friend of mine. Someone said, "Hey, my sister-in-law has a place. It's all repurposed stuff."
Yeah.
And so I was doing some stuff on consignment.
But
I
did
would
you have
give-
a name? What did you call it?
Yeah, Crafty Chief. That's the Crafty Chief. Yeah. I'd really like to have a bourbon label, the Crafty Chief. That's one of my things
That's good
I'd like
too.
to work on.
Wow.
Become a bourbon drinker later in life.
That is awesome.
So I like making this stuff, but it's not just the driftwood. I like anything I can repurpose and turn into art, some piece of that type of artwork I like messing around with. So I'm still trying to get squared away from like the whole retirement. I'm trying to clean out. I had to take 20.
Do you still have a lot of pieces that you haven't even done anything
Yes,
with?
I have wood sitting around. Of course, my wife is like, seriously, can you do something with this wood? And
It's going in the fire.
yeah, that's what's going to happen with some of it.
Yeah.
So I got to get going. But what I'm trying to do is just get, I was in an office for 20 years, a lot of personal stuff, a lot of training stuff. And they kind of got away from me. I'm like, okay, I got to move out of here.
You know where I think you could sell? Etsy.
Yeah.
Do you know Etsy?
Yeah.
If you all of a
That's what
sudden you
people
have
do.
this kind of
Yeah.
cool thing or whatever, that's
Well, I was at a craft place, craft fair one time, and I was asking somebody. I was just early in the stages of like kind of doing this stuff, and I did it. People said, "What the hell?" Like, it didn't go hand in hand. Like, you work in policing and do driftwood art, and it really was about when I was doing a piece of driftwood art. I wasn't thinking about anything. I was thinking about turning a piece of
that's
wood.
a creative outlet.
Yeah. So turning a piece of wood into something fun that someone likes.
Calms you down.
Yeah.
Right?
I was just
Blood
in this nice
pressure goes down.
space messing around with it. But I was at a fair and I asked a woman one time, say, hey, do you think this like stuff is popular? So I showed her some pictures like, oh my God. Yeah, like what why aren't you doing this? And I made the mistake and I said I have a real job. And
She didn't like that?
well, honestly, I mean, people do that for
Yeah,
a
yeah,
full-time
they
job.
get
And I didn't mean it like that.
You could have said full-time job as opposed to real job.
No, that's what I meant, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
just didn't come out the right way.
Yeah.
And but she says no, and people love driftwood art, especially people with coastal homes, coastal neighborhoods, and all that stuff. So I'll keep working it, and
I'll help you with your Etsy if you want to get an Etsy site.
yeah,
Seriously.
You might see me. I'll be one of those guys at these
Go to
these craft
Rockport.
fairs.
You go to like Rockport.
Yeah,
like,
I'll be out there.
Okay, got a question for you. When you look at Driftwood and what it takes to whatever you do with that Driftwood,
Yeah.
do you think you need more patience for that, or did you need more patience to be a police officer?
You need way more patience to be a police officer.
Yeah, I guess that's
You're dealing with human beings, human problems.
right.
Yeah.
if you don't have the right piece of wood, this is what you do.
Yeah, the wood just
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
out. I
yeah,
mean,
the right wood.
it just, and I found it was really a peaceful process of just taking.
Yeah.
a
So
piece
here's
of
a good
wood.
question. So, do you ever get frustrated with the Driftwood because
No.
something's not happening, or it's always just a good experience?
No, it's a good experience. Even when something goes wrong with it, it's a good experience.
Oh, that's great.
It's just such a distraction from. But when I used to talk to people, a lot of people didn't know I was messing around with this stuff.
Yeah.
And as I slowly would tell people, they would kind of be like,
because they thought you were kidding too.
"No," so they were like, "Wait a minute, you're a police chief and you do this as a hobby?" It just didn't go
right.
And I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, it's
Do you think
cool.
you do more or less now in retirement?
Well, I've done. I haven't. I'll be honest. I haven't done anything lately. I haven't done anything for a
Right,
little while.
what's
But I had
the-
a lot going on, Johnny. I got married again.
Yeah.
I moved. I bought. I got another house.
Yeah.
I got a lot going on. I got
You
stuff
travel
going-
every other
Yeah,
week.
Not every other week. I have been traveling a lot in the last.
And we're going to get into that
Yeah,
next segue.
But I plan on it. I just have to set up my area, my work area, and take care of some other business first. It's there. I got time.
Okay, absolutely.
I've only been retired. I'm coming up in 6 months.
I think it's good that you have stuff that you haven't even gotten to yet.
Yeah, I haven't touched it yet.
Right? So it's not
Yeah.
like you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs
Yeah.
like, oh, right. So that's great. I don't know if this is the right time to ask the question or not because we're talking about we're talking about your retirement. But
Yeah.
if you weren't in law enforcement, what career do you think you would have pursued?
Ooh.
What was your major in college?
Well, I was always
Criminal
interested in
studies.
Criminal justice.
political science, and criminal justice.
Criminal justice,
I was
yeah.
always interested in government.
But seriously, what do you think you would have done?
So I did have an interest, like the investigative reporter stuff.
Oh.
But now, as life has gone on and my life experiences and stuff, media, I would not.
Well, we
want-
know someone that maybe that he could give you a shot.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want anything to do with it. I
No?
mean, I mean, this I can count on one hand. I dealt with the media a lot in my career, and I can count on one hand the amount
And
of
that's another.
credible people.
But that's another thing you had to deal with. As
yeah,
yeah.
Well, everyone's in a big rush to get a story out, and God forbid,
Doesn't have to be right.
No, get the facts. Like they let the
don't let
facts
the
get in the way
facts
of a
get
good
in the way.
story.
Yeah.
It's disappointing that.
And they don't even get like they're not held accountable if it's wrong either. It's like, oh well,
Yeah.
it wasn't right. So, yeah.
No, and then you get too many. There's like too many political activists that are. It's almost like you should be.
Do you have a comment about Luigi?
I thought the news.
You know Luigi?
But I thought the news was supposed to be about reporting facts.
Yeah.
No.
And
No,
It's
who
to get
off
people to
first
watch. It's
and
to
how
get
many
eyes on
how
it.
many eyes that you have
Yeah,
on it.
that's it.
Yeah.
Luigi.
Luigi, what about him?
Like, do you have thoughts on it, or do you thoughts on the anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's mental illness is rampant. Untreated mental illness is rampant in the country. Not surprised.
Okay.
I mean, people who were cheering him on. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have something. How about so you're a
little over the top.
law enforcement, right? What about the drones? What's going on with the drones in New Jersey? Is this government thing?
It's our own government.
You think?
Yeah.
But why wouldn't they have a better like response to the public? They're like, oh, I don't know.
Why do you think you're telling? Why this is not their first rodeo?
Yeah, but it's
But yeah, but maybe
feels
they
like it
want
is,
people
though.
to. No,
You
but
know what I mean?
maybe they want people to think. Well, if it's out there, then the pressure comes off of
Yeah,
us.
I laugh at spaceships and aliens.
Yeah.
Aliens,
No, but they're
aren't-
saying, like,
aliens aren't
Iran-
going to have green and red lights and stuff on them. And,
No, but Steve, they're like Iran. There's a ship off the coast, or China owns farmland in the middle of our country, and like they're coming
well,
from
some of
there.
of that's true, but
yeah, well,
no, yeah,
yes. It's just are they looking
no,
for
it's
something?
our own government. That's
Okay.
my personal thoughts.
Like running like a test to see how the public would react to it? Are they
do
really?
you believe in UFOs?
Could be a couple things.
Do you believe in UFOs?
I'm
Area
from
50?
Missouri. I'm not really from Missouri, but I'm from Missouri. It's Show Me State. For me
Okay.
to believe it, I got to see it.
Have you watched some of the stuff though?
No,
So you don't watch Ancient Aliens?
no,
Well, that's
no.
way more absurd.
Giorgio believes in aliens.
I'm living in reality. I'm living in reality.
Yeah, but the footage you're
Yeah,
fine
but that
with that?
footage, like you don't even know where that footage is
The
from.
Tic Tac?
Who's had their hands on it and
Okay.
what's been done to
All
it?
right.
Listen, that's authentic. That
Okay.
footage.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
the
Like, if I knew where the footage,
But it was released by the military.
but like
I
I've
mean,
seen some stuff. It's like, oh, look at this came by an airplane. It's like, I'm like, okay, that could be a ship, but it also could be a Mylar balloon at a weird angle.
Yeah.
Floating by.
All right, we get it. You don't believe in it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
okay. But
All
it's,
right.
I like to see facts too, but there's a lot of stuff out there now.
I mean, that's a scary concept.
There's a
if-
lot of
if
there's a
that's
lot
real.
of there's a lot of misinformation by design going out there by.
You know what I
Okay.
feel like? I feel like by releasing that stuff, if that was really released by the military, they're like slowly introducing the public to like something's there. Like that's what I feel like.
Well, I
Like you
thought
just can't hit him like with a quick shot.
But I think it's the reverse engineering. That's what I'm saying. Like, so if you found this advanced technology because some UFO thing landed, and now we're taking that and trying to see how we can create our own devices.
Listen, we're gonna have a show on UFOs. We're gonna have
Definitely.
two sides. You're gonna be on.
We
the
know what side
factual-
you're on.
You're gonna be on the factual side.
You know what-
And we're gonna have the complete whack
Hold
job.
on.
I can.
I wouldn't say factual side. You're on the I don't believe it side.
No, he wants to see
Show
facts.
me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm gonna.
Right.
I'm going to
That's the
assemble a
same
whole
thing
bunch
with
of
like
information.
ghosts and things like that. Like
I
how many
don't believe in
ghost shows are
ghosts.
there? You
I
never
don't-
found
Do you
one.
believe in ghosts? I don't believe in ghosts.
They have those
I
shows
mean-
where like you hear like
I don't believe. Well, I don't believe it.
you know, show me one ghost.
Like, you see those videos, like there's a chair moving. Oh, I could make a
I
chair
don't-
move.
Do you believe in ghosts? I don't.
Show me.
No.
I don't. All right, let's transition to travel.
Travel.
You're
Yeah.
loving travel.
Yes.
You've gone to some very interesting places.
Yes.
Thoughts on travel and
Travel. Yeah.
love it.
I wish.
When's
I
your
got,
next trip?
I wish
Do you have
I
your
was-
next trip planned?
Yes. Next trip planned for summer of 25. We're heading to Cappadocia, which is north inland. Go into like Istanbul, and then north. It's pretty neat. There's like it's a tourist area. There's hotels built into like these caves and mountainsides.
Really?
They have these hot air balloon rides all up in there.
And how long do you go
So-
for now? Do
so
you go
that-
for like 3 weeks
No,
or
so
2 weeks?
that one we're only going flying in, go over there for like 3 days, come back, and then we're jumping on a Viking cruise and going down the western Turkey coast, all the old Roman and Greek.
you take one of those
civilizations.
Viking ships.
Yeah, going on.
Like-
Yeah, we're going on Viking. Not the old. No, the Viking. No, we've become
Viking
fans of
line. I
Viking.
knew what he was
We've
talking
become
about.
fans of Viking, but we do end up in.
Do you have like a frequent flyer card for Viking?
We're doing Crete, and we end in Athens.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's part of it. So a little bit of Greece is part of that.
now
That's
the
next
other
one.
thing is because I feel like we've got to make sure that this is something that you do, like officially do.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's Instagram or something. But while you were traveling, you would share,
Yeah.
your trips with loved ones,
Yeah.
and they're like, "You're pretty good at this."
Yeah.
And so what do you the traveling
So what
something?
happened was
The traveling man.
The traveling man.
Okay,
So as
that
a
might have
jo-
been taken before.
I don't know.
It hasn't.
So what happened was I think it was on one of the trips with my brother and our wives, and I was goofing around making a video, and I think I sent it home to somebody, and then I have an Instagram account, but it's private, and it's growing a little bit, mostly family and friends, and so I started making them, but those who saw them were like, hey, that's pretty cool, and then some people said to me like, you should really consider doing that for real. And one thing I do want to do is because I kind of look at it, I got a late jump traveling, and I wish I got it going a little further. So my wife has been traveling her whole life. She loves traveling.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's been
Internationally,
Yeah,
like-
international.
Okay.
she's been into a lot of places. So I kind of feel bad because some places she's going to again, but some she likes because she's been around a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure even those places might have changed.
Which they have, yeah.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is promote traveling to people like in our age bracket, like the 50-somethings who are kind of sitting around waiting for a reason to go. And it's like, don't wait. There's ways to get around. And people say, it's expensive and going to Europe. I'm like, no, it isn't. I mean, there's ways to.
You can be smart.
I see people go to Aruba to spend more in Aruba for a week than I spend in Europe.
Yeah.
So,
Is it always-
we spent more in Disney. We could have gone. For
Yeah,
a month.
yeah.
We could have gone to a month to Italy.
I know, but Disney's always
Yeah.
charging a lot. Is your travel always outside of the U.S., or do you have any interest in?
No, I have a lot of interest in the U.S. I mean, I get to do some traveling internally between, football,
Yep.
football game, and both my son and daughter.
Yep.
It's ironic. My daughter's 23, and she's like, "Hey, Dad, I've been to 26 states already."
That's cool.
Just because of college football.
Yeah.
between her what she was in her own college and now 2
But is
years.
she always working when she goes to those places, or is she allowed to
but
take
she does advanced work too. So she works in recruiting, but part of her job, additional responsibilities, she'll go out in advance, a couple days in advance, 2-3 days to set up, make sure everything's lined up from the time they come off a plane. So she has some time to. She's working, but she gets to explore a little bit too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you find with the travel, obviously you're going to another place with another culture, has that changed, like given you a different perspective that you haven't had? Because, I
like people in general. I don't care what kind of people they are.
Yep.
So I'm always talking it up with people and trying to learn a little bit about the culture wherever I'm at and whatever the locale has to offer. One thing I do a lot is I seek out and try to have dialogue with the local police.
You do?
Yeah, I let them know who I am, what my profession was.
Do you feel like they're
pretty good?
Good
Yeah.
to you because you
I bring them to.
yeah.
I always bring some tokens. Appreciation. I've exchanged
A gun.
patch and
He
stuff.
brings a gun. He goes, this is what I used to use on the job.
Challenge coin patch, whatever, and have some good conversations with.
Do you stay in touch with people? Like, do you say, hey, let me...
Not well. A good friend of mine, and he just got out of the business too. Giuseppe Petroni, a guy I met back
Irish guy.
Yeah, no,
Reggae.
Giuseppe and I went to the FBI National Academy years ago, back in 2001, and kept in touch with him my whole life since then. And he just recently retired. He was the police chief or commissioner of Milan.
Wow.
Yeah, so he just wrapped up in Milan, but now he's in a government-appointed position over Trento province. So there's like a governor of the elected governor, and then there's like a government-appointed person, and he's in this like government-appointed. It's kind of like I don't know if it's like a balance to balance out their government, but he's a good guy. I've kept in touch with him for years, and hopefully I can get to see him. Last time I came through Milan, you guys, I don't know if you heard this story about my trip out of Milan. What happened?
No.
So I share it only
with our 300 listeners.
There is a
Now I don't know where you're going with this.
So I had a great trip. I went up actually another cruise. We went through Greece, a couple Greek islands, up through Croatia into Venice, and then we came, got out, spent the night there, and then made our way up through the northern part of Italy, and then had a trip planned to Lake Maggiore, which I like. Lake Maggiore up just south of the Swiss Alps. We went over to Lake Como as well. Stopped in Lombardy.
Is your family from northern Italy?
Yeah, Tuscany.
Okay.
Tuscany, a little more south of this area, but so we ended up in the Lake Maggiore area, and we were as great trip overall. It was in the summertime, beautiful weather the whole time. Probably it was too hot. I remember when we first got into Athens, it was like 106 degrees, fires everywhere.
Yeah,
like 2 summers ago.
That was that was bad.
Yeah. So we leave the last day. It's raining out. First sight of rain, drizzling, and ride to the airport was probably like 45 minutes. And we get on a plane. We're on a big 767, whatever it is. And nowadays, I'm prepared pretty well. I'm learn how to travel well. I got my headphones on, plugged in. I'm already watching a movie, and we're taxiing, taking off, and we're climbing. And I'm into my movie, and all of a sudden I hear like this banging, and it literally sounds like someone's taking a sledgehammer to something, or like machine gun fire.
And you don't want that.
It's like
in
boom,
a plane.
boom, boom, boom. Yeah, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And so I do one of these. I take the headphones off, and I see my wife already has her phone out, and she's like texting.
Trying to figure it out.
Well, she's texting somebody. I'm like, what are you doing? And as soon as I took it off, I was like, wow, that's hail. Now, granted, I don't know how I knew
You're
it.
in the air, or
yeah,
you're on the.
We're climbing.
Oh,
And hail is pounding the jet
jeez.
like I've never heard or seen.
But
before.
eventually you get over that, right?
Well,
is that the plan?
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And it got eerily quiet, and a lot of people were putting the shades. What happened was the hail was hitting the plane, creating sparks.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you film it at all?
No, I was in the middle,
Okay.
and I felt bad. We had a young gal was sitting with us. Her fiance, she just got engaged, and her fiance got bumped up, and he sat in first class, and so she's back here, and
I have to question that guy.
yeah, that's what I said. You might want to read
What?
that. No. So she was just concerned. I said everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
We have to punch out of this and get above the clouds. But it took like a couple minutes with that kind of noise.
How often does that happen? Is that a rarity?
It happens? So I've seen, probably from watching like air disasters or something.
But certain parts of the world get it more often than others?
It was just a storm. I don't know if it just didn't get picked up on radar. I don't know what happened. But so it's bad turbulence. It's getting shelled bad by this heel, and everyone was concerned. And I just kind of put my headphones back on. I'm like, there's nothing you can do. It's out of my control. Hopefully.
Did you ever find out after the fact if there's been planes that have not fared well in
no.
hail?
So exactly what I figured damage-wise was going to happen. So we finally punched through. It took a few minutes, long few minutes. We punched through, and the reason I tell the story is like you control the controllables. Like we had no control over this. This trained pilots put the faith and trust in them, and they did their job. So we got up and we punched through, and I could hear like this whining in one of the engines, and I'm like,
Oh, Jesus.
that doesn't sound right. You know,
Jeez.
not real bad, but I'm like, something's not right. And then I kind of figured out that as long as that pounding was from the heel, I said, all the instruments are in the front nose cone. I said, I guarantee you that area is all damaged.
So you had to land.
Yeah, so I said, there's no way we're going across the Atlantic right now. And then he come on. The pilot never came on during the whole time. He finally come on. He kind of apologized. He was cool. He was calm. He said, hey, apologize for that. We just went through a hailstorm. And he goes,
I'm sorry for you guys freaking out for the last half hour and me not saying one thing, but we survived.
Yeah, no, so he just says there's damage to the plane. We have to make a landing. We're going to be heading south to Rome. Ended up being about a half hour.
Roma!
Yeah, ended up Rome. I don't want you to be alarmed. You're going to see a lot of emergency vehicles and stuff coming down. It's considered an emergency landing. And so,
I'm not sure if you guys have ever landed in the water, but it's exciting.
So he ends up saying we're going to come in, use the term, because we're going to be coming in heavy, hence the big fire response. So the young girl next to me was like, what does that mean, heavy? I go, well,
People must be shitting bricks at this point.
I said it's good and bad. I go, the fact that we're coming in heavy means he's got all the fuel on board. He's not dumping fuel. So that means the plane's kind of intact in my mind, and everything's operating properly. And she goes, well, why is that a problem? And I'm like, I didn't tell her till after the plane was down on the ground. I'm like, because if things don't go well and you don't dump the fuel, one big fireball potentially is going to happen. So we land, everything's fine. But when we get off, they were trying to hustle us on these shuttle buses right in the middle of the runway and get us out of there. And as you turned around and looked at the plane,
I was going to say, what did the plane
not
look
on
like?
fire, beaten up. I mean, the nose was ripped off. There were dents all over the front leading edge of the the wings. So I had punctures in them. The engine, that one engine was making a noise, had all damage in the fans. It was pretty bad. Like it looked like it flew through like I was getting shot up in like a war zone.
Did they give you like $100?
No, they put us up in a shitty hotel with shitty food.
But you were in Rome.
I couldn't believe. Well,
But
we
you
were on
were
the
in
outskirts of Rome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get a picture of that plane?
I have it. Yeah, I actually I posted a story about it.
We'll share that with the viewers
on LinkedIn.
if you're okay with it.
Yeah. And the main reason I posted it was to say you can't control like the stuff you control in your life. You control the stuff you can't control. You don't.
I would have
control.
been crapping my pants on that flight.
Yeah, I was.
Like,
I mean,
I know you're in a plane. You're like this. What am I going to do? I'm holding on like this.
Well, it's better off that you
doesn't
don't know what's going on at the moment because that's scary.
but I give credit. And I know they practice for that stuff, and long as the integrity of the plane was staying together, I felt confident.
Do you think they fixed that plane, or do they just say?
No, they must fix it. Yeah, I'm sure they fixed it up.
So do you think they didn't know that was there? Because you're not flying through that if you
that's
know
right.
it's there.
It was one of those ones I said, I guarantee you right now the tower was, after they had radio communication, the tower was saying, hey, shut Ixnay, the runway.
Right.
No more flights taking off right now.
Wow. All right.
Jeez.
One last question about travel. You obviously explained that story, but was there any trip or location that completely blew you away, and why? And I feel like I know one that you might, because it's...
Well, about a decade ago was what jump-started this. I went to Israel. So
that was a decade ago?
Yeah, it's a decade ago.
When you were in...
Yeah, I went to Israel. I got, when you get to go to all the stations of the cross.
Yeah.
I went to Nazareth. I went to Bethlehem.
Jeez.
Did you feel something when you were there?
Yeah, I went down, you go in the holy city, Jerusalem. It's all below ground.
There's a police presence everywhere, right? Like,
police,
because
military.
Obviously everyone's
police,
fighting
military,
for that spot, right?
Yeah, the Jerusalem. I mean, talk about politics and the dynamics over there. It's tough, but I appreciated the ability to go there and visit everything that I did. That kind of jump-started my traveling, and then I made my first trip to Italy not long after. So I like all things Italy.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, my great-grandfather was a marble cutter from Carrara. I've been up in the Carrara Mountains, the white marble.
Mazzie,
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
I learned my name was changed, wasn't even spelled properly later in life. But I like all things Italy. I like the Czech Republic. Prague is pretty neat.
You like Central Europe East?
There was a place called
South,
Chesky
Southern Europe.
Chesky Kromlov.
The sun? I know.
Chesky Kromlov.
Are you okay there?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Do you want me to? I can put another thing on
No,
there.
we're good.
Okay.
Chesky Kromlov was like this, if I'm even pronouncing it right, it was like this little town castle with a river running around it in the middle of like rural Czechoslovakia, which is a pretty neat place.
Beautiful, right?
Yeah, real pretty.
I think below deck they go to the Czech Republic a lot. Like beautiful water.
Yeah.
And, right?
Parts of, I've been on the Danube and the Rhine rivers, all of, France, parts of France. Almost pretty neat. I'm into,
So always Europe. You would never go to like South America or Africa?
No, there's stuff on the agenda. Yeah, I've been up to Iceland. Recent trip this summer, I was up North Cape. I went to the furthermost northern point in Norway. Another great place in Norway was a place called Geranger Fjord. So got into these fjords. It looks fake. I felt like I was in a movie. All these waterfalls coming down, but you go in and there's this little town at the end of this fjord, and we hiked up onto the mountainside.
You got to figure out whether you take your personal Instagram account or create the Traveling Man. You got to do it.
Yeah. So I've made a bunch of videos of these places, and I want to share them to promote travel.
You could do YouTube video too, right? If you want a YouTube channel,
yeah,
you could do it there too.
Yeah, I got to figure that out.
I'll help you.
Maybe you'll help me out.
I will absolutely help you out because I would love you to do that. That would be a lot of fun.
But we want to, we got a list of places we're going to continue.
That's awesome.
Getting and going to.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I think we're winding down a little bit. What are you, going back to the career thing, what are you most proud of as it relates to being the chief of police?
So I'm just proud of the fact we put out, I think, good service. We developed good relationships in the community. I really, people, it's a lot of work to change culture and change attitudes about what we should look like and be like and act like. But we had good relationships. I think people, with mutual respect, we had good relationships. People felt comfortable. I mean, my goal was to make people feel safe and comfortable and they could trust us. And so I think we accomplished that.
What advice would you give to the next generation of like someone that wants to be a police officer?
It's still a great profession. Like I said, I'm impressed that the seats are filled in the academies, that people still want to do the job. And the pendulum always swings back. There's some of this anti-police rhetoric. It's gotten better already. And so what advice I'd give him is, learn as much as you can from people that, like, I always tell, like, there's different cops that are good at different stuff. Kind of like if one guy's a good report writer, pay attention how he does his reports. Another person's just good talking to people, he or she deals with people. Another one might be a real good investigator. Take a little bit from everybody, develop your own personality and approach to the job. Take advantage of any opportunity that comes up to learn more. Make sure you laugh. Make sure you take care of yourself. Don't forget your family.
Yeah. And then my last question is, what would Stevie now tell 24-year-old Stevie?
Ooh, yeah. I would say, don't think you're going to save the world.
That's what you think right out the gate?
Yeah, because you're not going to.
Yeah.
You can help a lot of people. You could save a few, but you're not going to save them all.
Well, you can save the world you got to save one person at a time, right?
Yeah.
And then that adds up.
Yeah, it's a lot of effort and work. My dad used to say, he had a different school of hard knocks. Stevie, you're shoveling shit against the tide. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, someone's got to shovel it.
Right.
He used to say, don't
if
take
I
it
don't
so
shovel it, no one else will.
Exactly. Someone's going to shovel it. But there's good people across the country who are trying to do the right things in their communities.
I gotcha. Did you have you know what? I just realized you usually ask the same question to everybody.
No, we did our
but you didn't ask that. No, not the movie. The music. What you? He always thinks that like people don't like. Everyone likes music.
I
like a little bit of everything.
Ask them the question.
Well, what's your favorite band?
Ooh, my favorite.
I didn't have that. It wasn't like a planned thing. Sometimes it just
No,
comes
I
out.
think we need to ask that of everybody.
In recent years, I like I like Mumford and Sons.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And
those
then
guys.
your other question?
Because Kool and the Gang's not around anymore.
Yeah.
You can still listen to him, though. It could be someone from back then,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, no, like I don't know if Stevie's a music guy. That
You
know,
keep saying that. Everyone is a music guy.
who's your favorite lead
frontman.
singer of? I mean, it's.
Ricky's right. I'm not that much into
Yeah, that's
music.
what I was gonna say, Stevie.
Yeah,
That's not
I'm not.
Stevie's. No,
Yeah.
You
that's
don't have
not
like a
his-
front man that you like?
Not
Bono?
not really, no.
Okay.
No, he doesn't
that's
care.
fine. Well,
he
that's
likes
an
to
answer.
listen to music
But
and
that's-
enjoy
I like-
it,
I like
but he doesn't
music,
get like.
That's an answer, too.
Yeah.
He's not-
like
that's an
Johnny,
answer,
I'm
too.
listening to a lot of Christmas music right now.
That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of Bublé, right?
Yeah, a lot of Michael Bublé. Yes.
You know what I do when Michael Bublé comes on?
Oh, why do you got to do this? That's not true. All right, listen,
I
Stevie.
like a little bit of everything, though.
There you go.
Yeah.
Variety is the spice
good.
of
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Well, Stevie, traveling man, thank you so much for coming on. I think we'd love to have you on again, and you can just be talking about the traveling man stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is 50 people that follow us, so we
Wow.
love to point them your way.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
when you get millions of followers, don't forget about us.
That'd be cool. Yeah,
So-
no, it's been great to chat. It's great to even see you guys.
Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Thank
right?
you. Same to you.
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas.
And Ricky, what's time to say?
See ya.
That's it.
That's it.
All right. Peace.